At the end of last week, police in Fairfax, Virginia, released some of the craziest body cam footage I've ever seen, and not just crazy because of the action or the circumstances of a routine traffic stop escalating to shots fired at cops, but crazy because the shooter had his own video angle too, which has its own implications. More on that in a moment. This encounter was on April 23rd. An officer pulled over who we now know to be 36-year-old Jamal Wali, an Afghan immigrant who was an interpreter for U.S. military forces during the war. He was pulled over for a minor reason, an expired safety inspection. Virginia requires renewal every year.
So why did you pull me over?
Your inspection sticker expired last...
Call Joe Biden or call George Bush.
And after Wally finally brake-checked the cop to initiate the stop, it turns out there are a bunch of other reasons he should be pulled over too. He was immediately hostile and wouldn't even give his name.
Go back, sit in the fucking car and leave.
No, sir.
No?
It doesn't work that way. Can I get your name?
No.
No?
No?
No license, no registration.
Do you have the registration to the vehicle?
Nothing.
You got nothing?
Nothing.
All right.
He says his license was revoked for no reason at all.
They took my driving license.
So
Okay.
they took it away?
Yeah, for no fucking reason. I have a hard time with court.
But he actually mentions a pretty good reason beyond just his erratic braking and apparent road rage. He drives without insurance, but that's just because nobody will give him a job or any benefits, he says.
I can't get a job. I can't get a disability. And they took my fucking license because I'm not able to pay the insurance.
Through just a few minutes of conversation with a very calm cop, much too calm, as we'll soon see, Wally is calling this an attempted murder situation.
So why are you fucking trying to kill me?
I'm not trying to
No,
kill you,
you are. I'm already died. I don't give a damn fuck.
Subject's armed, refusing to give ID.
And yes, as you heard that officer say, Wally is armed, which we know because he declared that immediately upon confrontation.
That was a heck of a stop, sir.
I have a gun and I'm armed. I'll let you know.
Now, you may have the same questions I did initially watching this encounter. Is that guy here legally? And is he carrying that gun legally? And actually, yes and yes, at least we're told, according to the Fairfax County Police Chief explaining this scenario at a press conference on Friday. Wally is legally here, and he has been since 2014.
He's been in our country lawfully since 2014.
When Wally says he worked with the American military,
I started with special forces. I lost my own fucking brother. I lost my everything.
I'm sorry.
I have nothing.
I'm sorry to hear that.
that is true, at least generally.
In fact, he did work with American military forces overseas prior to 2014, and I believe that's what gave him the pathway to be lawfully present in the United States.
But what's strange about that explanation is the hedging. You believe that's what gave him legal presence here? This happened a month ago. Why is that so hard to check? And we don't even have his technical immigration status, actually. Just legal, but nothing more than that. Is he a refugee? Is he a resident? Is he a citizen? Totally unclear and unknown, but it's all legal.
Yeah, so the exact particulars of what type of documents allow him to be present lawfully in the United States, I don't have immediately available to me, but it's been shared with us by federal law enforcement that he is lawfully in the United States.
Okay, but what about the gun? Is it legal for him to drive around with a gun on his hip in this way? Well, according to the chief, Wally was open carrying, which is legal in Virginia and does not require a permit.
His holster, and it's outside of his clothing, and it was visible. He was lawfully carrying a firearm.
But again, some questions here. The chief says Wally has a history with criminal charges and mental health episodes.
Some of the questions that we've received in the meantime was, how can he lawfully carry a firearm in Virginia if in fact he's been charged with crimes in the past? How in fact can he carry lawfully a firearm open carry, if he's had some of his criminal cases diverted to the mental health docket? How can he continue to do that? And the answer is lawfully he can.
Okay, so can we get some more information on that? No, that's just like his immigration status, except the conclusion without substantiation. And I'm not accusing the police chief of lying. I'm just saying if there is a conclusion, Please explain to us how you reach that conclusion. Because of facts A, B, and C, we reach conclusion X. Instead, we're getting it backward. The conclusion is X, even though facts A, B, and C are missing or unknown. But given the chief's description, the actual legal problems for Wally during this traffic stop were minimal. He was facing tickets or fines for driving unlicensed, unregistered, uninsured, unsafety inspected, yeah. But it's not like he was facing prison time or something, at least very unlikely. But for Wally, this stop was something between a breaking point for a troubled man and a fight to the death that he actually wanted. Maybe both, because he accelerates even harder than he brakes. Throughout this conversation, Wally is telling this officer that Americans are terrible. They're liars and a vicious people.
We wholly survive because you're a fucking racist people. Fucking
Is you to
dumbass
identify
liars, white
yourself.
people. You lied for 25 years.
He says he was brought here. He didn't want to come here.
You fucking people brought me to this goddamn country, and I'm dying every fucking single day.
Now, I assume he means the circumstances of the war forced him to come here, not that he was actually kidnapped or held against his will, because of course he's free to go whenever he wants to, and maybe he does, because he says he would have been better off working for the Taliban.
I should have served with fucking Taliban better than you. I was concerned and a fucking dumbass fuck when I was concerned about Taliban, but in America, since 2014, I'm concerned about more about you people.
Now, I'm not sure what a Taliban traffic stop is like, but I imagine the penalty for an unregistered goat is less of a ticket and more of your head falls off. And it's not just that Wally is implicitly threatening with his hostility and his gun available for deployment at any moment. He gets explicitly threatening throughout, or very close. He tells the cop, "This is the day."
You liars.
I'm not lying.
No, you're lying.
It's obviously right there.
You are no. Today's
So
the day, buddy.
And the cop, acting more like a therapist, has to tell him repeatedly, "Hey man, I know you're having a bad day, but could you please stop reaching for your gun?" And Wally responds, "No, you stop reaching for your gun."
Don't reach for anything, dude. Don't
no,
unbuckle
don't,
that.
I'm telling you, don't reach. I'm telling you, don't reach. I don't
Subject
give a
keeps
damn
reaching.
fuck.
Subject keeps reaching for his weapon.
You can hear the officer on the radio for help there. 2 more cops then show up and try to get the situation under control. Wally is sharing some form of ID with them, and then it goes from document exchange to shooting incident in a split second. And I have to censor the video, but you can watch it uncensored with the links in the description. It is surprisingly not graphic, actually. But to break down what happens, Wally is sharing this ID. One officer reaches inside the car. Wally draws his gun, pulls the slide, and starts firing. We can clearly see him do that from the GoPro that he had set up and recording. Wally fired only one shot that hit both of these officers on the driver's side of the car, both in the arm.
Both the officers sustained gunshot wounds. A singular bullet traveled through both extremities, both arms of both those officers. The first officer, the bullet traveled through his bicep, out the other side, and then traveled in and out of the forearm of the second officer.
Those 2 officers are luckily okay. Were it not for the quick response of the third officer on the passenger side, who shot Wally dead immediately, Wally may have fired more shots, and those cops could easily both be dead instead. But it was more than just a good quick draw to end Wally and save those cops. It was a malfunction, too. Wally's gun actually jammed after that first shot.
We know that he attempted to fire additional rounds, but the second round he attempted to fire, there was a malfunction in that effort. And he still, in spite of that malfunction, conducted a malfunction drill, for lack of a better description, to try to rechamber another round. And that was unsuccessful.
Now, the cop who saved the others with the quick work to shoot Wally is, of course, on leave and under investigation with criminal charges possible, according to the Washington Post. I don't know that prosecutor's leanings or tendencies, but I gotta think that is all just formality. In no sane world is this cop getting charged. He returned fire after Wally fired first. If that's some kind of criminal homicide, then there is no legitimate use of a gun ever, though of course This is not a sane world, and that view is probably a lot more common than I'm crediting. But some questions of interpretation. Was Wally's attack just some heat-of-the-moment outburst, or had he been planning something for a while? The police chief says the threatening language, the prepared camera setup, this was a confrontation that Wally wanted.
I think Mr. Wally's actions, setting up the camera and powering it on, telling the police officer not to touch his gun, telling the police officer on more than one occasion that this is the day or this is your day. Those are all indicative that he probably perhaps anticipated trying to kill a cop.
If so, the question is, why? Why does he hate our country so much? And when does the assimilation kick in? Because Wally had been here for over a decade, and he sustained that long somehow, either through employment or through government benefits or both. He had 4 children at home.
And I have 4 children.
Which I would think would be a mitigating factor. If you have a family to protect, you're generally not looking to abandon them in a gunfight with police, especially a gunfight you pick. Yes, the war did a lot of damage to his country, and I can understand why an Afghan might resent that. And maybe our government did screw him over with benefits promised but not delivered. I haven't seen any confirmation of that claim, but I could certainly see that happening. But the Taliban, al-Qaeda, ISIS-K, and others have also done significant damage to Afghanistan and would be significantly less accommodating to this guy. Try talking to the benefits office in Kandahar. See how that goes. Try driving around looking for work in Kabul. See how that goes. His fate there would have been a lot rougher than it was here, but he has no gratitude for that. Only rage and hatred. Actually, his fate probably would have been the same. It's just they would impose it on him instead of him choosing it. And so the question is, if this guy, after years of cooperation with the American military and at least a home away from the war given to him, even if it didn't come with as much milk and honey as he expected, and a decade's time to adapt, and a family to protect, if this guy can't assimilate and become American and still calls us an other with disdain.
You're American, okay?
Yes.
Yes, you are American.
So-
listen, American.
Is assimilation realistically possible? And speaking of those kids now fatherless because of their father's actions, what will their attitudes toward America be? Will they understand their father's mistakes, or will they blame America for taking him? And will they be motivated to violence as he was? And that question is much more immediate than just some philosophical consideration. It's not a question that we may have to face someday, or a question that only police have to worry about facing. That's a question that any one of us could have faced that same day in April. Because given how short Wally's fuse was and how much he appeared to want the fight, there's a very realistic scenario that captures you or me in the violence in the same way those police officers were caught in it then. Let's say Wally's inspection sticker actually was current, so he doesn't get pulled over that day, and he drives a few more blocks down the street, and maybe you or me or anybody else who lives in Fairfax accidentally cuts him off in traffic. And Wally, of course, already enraged at his very existence in America, decides today is the day for you instead of those cops. And so he follows you into a parking lot, and he gets out of his car and he pulls that slide and he points his gun with the same speed and aggression. And now it's you staring down that Afghan barrel of justice instead. At that point, the philosophy, the politics, all of the intellectualizing is gone. And the only question that matters is a very simple one. Are you as quick on the draw as that cop was? I know I'm not. And that's if you live in a state that even respects your right to draw anything at all. Many don't. But the good news is you do have at least one more glimmer of hope. You can probably count on that same divine malfunction too. It must have been a cheap gun with even cheaper ammo, because I assume there's a reason that Wally never sold it for insurance money. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on X. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chatting my live streams as live on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Looking forward to it. Goodbye. Hey, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, That means you probably found some value in the video. If you found some value in the video, please consider supporting my material. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month. It not only helps me sustain, but it helps me pay the people who make my videos possible. Linked in the description for you, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Thanks for listening.